Greetings and welcome to the Why I Love Disney podcast. I'm excited to be here with my friends David and JD to record another episode talking about all the reasons we love Disney. JD, David, how you guys doing?
Great, Dustin. How are you?
Doing great.
I am doing fantastic as well. Excited to jump in today. Any new Disney news? Anything going on in your life? What's going on? Have you finished up all your series, David? I know you've had a few going.
Well, yeah, I have. I think we're going to talk about it a little bit, but we finished the Daredevil series and we finished the Defender series. So working our way through the newer Netflix Marvel generation.
Awesome. What about you, JD?
Awesome. Yeah, me and my wife, I finally got her to do all of the Star Wars movies. We did the first original trilogy. We went through that because she's been watching me watch and get into Boba Fett, and she was like, who is this guy? So it's finally like, well, we're just going to have to watch all the movies so you actually know who he is. So got her to do that. We just finished Phantom Menace last night. So we'll just about wrap up the prequels. But it's been fun because it's brought back so many memories. 1 and 2 just reminded me all these characters that I'd kind of forgotten about. So it's been fun.
That's super cool.
That's great.
Super. Is she into it? Is she liking it?
So it's actually really funny because she wasn't so much into the original trilogy. And I kind of hyped up the original, the Luke Skywalker. It's this awesome story. And then the prequels, I was like, the prequels are all right, little, here and there. But she loves the prequels because there's romance in them. She loves the Anakin Skywalker, Padme. She's like, this is great. She loves it. So it's actually not what I expected, but I'm just happy that she's enjoying it.
Yeah, you got the little kid has a crush on the older girl, and then it turns into really cheesy dialogue. And as it goes on, that's great. Actually, the prequels to me too, have kind of grown on me through the years. There was a period where they're awful, but they they represent the time they're in. That's really cool. Glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Glad to hear she's coming along and becoming a fan along with you.
Yeah, that's right.
I also finished. My son and I were cramming, trying to finish season 1 of Daredevil before they took it off of Netflix. But I saw there was news today, David. You just told me that Daredevil is going to be released on Disney Plus pretty soon, right?
I think it said March 16th, and originally I had seen it was going to be in Canada on March 16th, but I had not seen that it was going to be in the U.S. But an article today said it was going to be in the U.S. on Disney Plus on March 16th.
Terrific. So I only have to wait a couple of weeks.
That's big news.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's big news. I still need to catch up to you guys.
Have they mentioned anything about season 4? When is that in production yet?
Haven't. This article was in Variety, and it does not mention season 4. So,
okay.
I don't know about that. I remember when season 3 ended, there were people trying to get, word out please bring it back, please bring it back. It said the article concludes, it says November 2020 marked 2 years since the Daredevil cancellation, thus opening the door for leading star Charlie Cox to reprise the fan favorite character in Disney's Marvel Cinematic Universe. That event finally took place in Spider-Man No Way Home, in which Cox had a cameo appearance in his out-of-costume character Matt Murdock. But that's all it talks about.
Okay. Well, that's fascinating. It's moving forward, I think, obviously, since he was in the Spider-Man movie and Kingpin appears in Hawkeye, that there is a place for them in the new universe. And I know we're going to talk a lot more about that here coming up, but let's pause that for just a second and talk about some big Disney news. Today is the grand opening of the Star Wars Galactic Cruiser hotel. This cruise ship type experience that takes place on a Starcruiser. And you're kind of, it's on land, but it's built like a cruise. Have you guys read or seen any reviews or any inside videos or anything like that about this?
I watched, there were a lot of media events where media and influencers got to go and experience it. And a lot of videos went up on YouTube, well-known guys that do a lot of Disney vlogging. And I watched a few things. I tried to watch the ones that were a little less, that said they did not contain spoilers, because it's obvious it's very story-driven. and there's a story going on. And I thought, man, that might be like a mystery that's part of the whole thing. I don't know that I want to spoil that. But I did look a lot at the videos of the rooms and the characters and things like that. It sounds like it's a very busy 48 hours or however many you're on there from the time. They say you can't really, it's not like a cruise, then you're not going to go just put your feet up and enjoy the environment. The story's going on around you, and if you're not in places where you're supposed to be, you'll just miss the story. So it does seem like, man, if I'm paying that much money, it reminded me of a murder mystery party, or something like that, where you go to a mystery dinner. And so I thought, man, it sounds like you've got to really be into the characters and the story. And they say the characters can pop up anywhere and do different things. And one vlog I watched, they had pulled away because they had to get some work done on their computer, and they were sitting in a lobby, and then all these characters came out, and part of the story took place right in front of them. And she was like, if I hadn't been there at that moment, I would have missed it. And a lot of people did miss it. So you're having to put the story together through, I guess, pieces and parts, it sounds like. But I didn't hear any negative reviews, but I think a lot of the media people that go to these events, Disney invites them in. Disney pays for them to come. They're letting them come for free. They're getting a free vacation. And so a lot of them are very good about not coming out and saying anything negative. They're going to be positive because, again, it was a gift. And so several are going back this week, I know, and paying themselves. So I think after the reviews of the next 3 or 4 days, we'll get a lot more analysis from people that paid themselves and are probably going to speak up a little bit more. The only negative that I heard was I did hear a few people say it was very, very good, but it was worth this much money. And it wasn't what the price says. That was the main thing I heard people going, I'm not sure. Of course, Disney's still defending that. But I have no idea. So, I can't imagine when I'm going to, when I would go, and if it's that intense, I know that in my family, probably John David and I would be the only two that wanted to do that, because the rest of our family would be like, they would want rest time. And they said even the group, there were people that didn't say, well, I've been to Galaxy's Edge. Can I just stay here? But you have to go to Galaxy's Edge to continue the story. Things happen there. So you have to do everything that's planned. It's like a cruise ship, and you got to go with the flow, it sounds like. So, the thing with the price, somebody I saw did a comparison, and I think you can take your family to the Hawaii resort cheaper than you can do the Star Wars experience. Wow. So, you're looking, I haven't figured that up. I heard that. So I think for me, it would be comparing in my list of bucket list for Disney things, and going back, I want to go back to Universal soon. I mean, there's a lot of things I'm looking at. I would be going, I got to figure out what all these things cost and what's the best value for, again, because if I go, I know if I go to the Starcruiser, then I'm going to want to tag on a couple of days in Orlando already. So then it's like, man, can I do all that?
What's $6,000 for a family of 4 for 2 days? This is 2 days, and that's crazy. That's almost been every headline I've seen. Is it worth the price? Is it worth the price? Is it worth the price? And Disney, you're right, they're defending it right now, and I guess if it's booked up and stays a hot commodity, maybe it's worth it. But it's hard to imagine, there's how many people can, I won't say afford it, because you can afford anything you really want, but that's a big chunk of money to do that.
Sean David, go ahead.
You go ahead. I was just going to say, oh my gosh.
Since John David and I went to Disney, 3 weeks ago, or second week of February, I've been watching the ride times on the app. Just I'll think about it and I'll check it. And every day in February, the lines have been over an hour to 2 hours long every day. Yeah. And this is, people are going, people are spending money, people are getting out. I don't know if it's post-pandemic, just got to get out and do some things, or it's, all the media that, there's so much more media now telling you how to do a Disney trip. And so maybe people are buying into all the advice they're given, and they hit February hard because they've been told that's a lighter month. But it was busy, and so I think there was a lot of negative press. There was because I think there's a lot of press that just wants they make money by being negative about Disney. So there was a lot of that out there, and I'm not sure it's going to pan out. I think Disney's going to do fine because first they were saying people were canceling. Now it's booked all the way through April. So I think it's going to do all right.
Yeah.
And they'll always, if it doesn't, they'll adjust the price. They'll figure it out.
I mean, they'll have to adjust the price with any new thing. When a new iPhone comes out, I mean, it's that highest price point, and then it goes down. When all the hype is up, that's when you make the price the most. But my question with how long can this be a great thing is, well, how often are they going to change this story? It's like if you and me went next week, well, it's not – you're paying for the experience and the story no matter how great it is. It's like, well, would I pay to go again to go next month like I would with another resort? That will be interesting to see how they make changes and other modifications.
I think it depends on how much you love the story, because if you go to Universal and you go to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, you're going to see the same characters, the same songs, the same performances, the same attractions, the same environment, and you go back and you love it again. And I think that's the closest thing I can think of to the Starcruiser where there's things going on. So,
but you don't pay $5,000 to be there for a couple of days.
That's true.
Number one. Number two, this is a very unique experience. It targets a certain type of person. Like, this isn't for everybody. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't hey, what are we going to do this weekend?
I don't think so.
Yeah, let's go check out that Star Wars thing. No, you got to be a Star Wars fan or just have so much money you don't know what to do with it, right?
Or love role playing.
Yeah, and,
I did see several vloggers
that
went full costume and makeup and changing their hair color and doing things like that and playing, being totally immersive. So and then I saw other people that were just there watching. So,
it's a first of its kind. It's one of a kind, and we're going to find out if this is the future or if this is something that's unique. I do think that it's small, right? There's not a lot of rooms, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a very small experience. It's not. You're not packing in thousands of people at a time, right? The whole idea is
all
that
the pictures I saw look small. Yeah.
Well,
it's a few hundred rooms, I think. I want to say 250, but.
Well, if that's the case, then you by keeping it small, it's a kind of a one of a kind experience, right? So it's not like we're going to do this once a year from now on, right? We've done it. We've experienced it, and like JD was saying, are they going to change the story? Are there going to be new things to it? What's the replayability like a video game, right? I'm not sure necessarily, I guess we'll find out, but all that to say, all that to say is, man, Disney's trying to do something incredible, right? This is an ambitious project that will immerse you in kind of Star Wars, regardless of how big the rooms are. I saw one windowless bunker. Take really rich people and put them in a concrete windowless bunker. We could say that, but at the same time, like, this is Imagineers dreaming up something amazing and new for Star Wars fans. And I'd hope it's a success, and hope there can be more of these sorts of things for fans of Pixar or Toy Story, or fans of Harry Potter, or fans of whatever, that you could go and live your dream, as one of these, see what it's like to be in a galaxy far, far away. I mean, we've all just dreamed of that sort of stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one comment I did see, I heard a couple of times, things I watched, people said, use the phrase once in a lifetime experience, assuming that you're only going to pay that once, but also definitely heard you can't do it all. Like there are more activities and there's more story that you can. So if there's more that you can do in the time allotted, there will be people that will want to go back again and experience it over. Especially if you like to role play and you didn't get to talk to the captain and you want to do this and you want to do that. So I guess it will also depend on how endearing these characters become. Because when you normally are going into an environment, you know the characters, and these are all new. So you're it's a new story, new characters. So
let me ask you this: do you think you'll do it?
Do I think I'll do it?
Yeah. You see yourself doing this?
I think so, John. I think I could see John David doing it for sure.
Yeah, if the price goes down a little bit too, for sure.
I have to figure out whether I want to do that more than something else. That's the thing, So I don't know. We'll have to figure that out.
I think if my family is 6, it's not realistic for me right now. I mean, even in the foreseeable future, like even going to Disney is hard enough. Much less, I need 6 people. That'd be 2 rooms. That'd be $10,000 for me.
And I thought about you. I do think they have suites that hold more people. I think there's at least like a captain suite or something. But in your family, the merchandise is 2 per family. So you've got 4 boys. And if you wanted to spring for them all to have a lightsaber, they could only get 2. And you could get 2 droids. You can't, even though you got 6 people in your family right now, you can only have 2 pieces of merchandise. So
chip shortage, supply chain issues,
took a whole
right?
family.
Is it included in the price, or does it pay extra for it?
I think there are things you pay extra for, but I don't know that. I really don't know that, but I just assume you pay extra for it. But
I did see
it already made the news that from the influencers week and the media week, that merchandise was already selling for $1,000, $1,200, $900 on eBay. So someone turned around and was making a profit off their free trip. So that's what they don't want. They don't want that merchandise. Right. It's supposed to be special merchandise you get there, exclusive, and not on eBay. So,
well, I did see that it's all the food is like a cruise. It's all you can eat. The snacks, the drinks, like everything is free and inclusive. And there's no room service, but they said if you're hungry and ask a cast member, they will try their best to accommodate you with whatever you want. So that's kind of cool. And even like the blue milk and the green milk and that kind of stuff, you can just have all the blue milk you want. You just drink till you puke.
They have blue shrimp. Have you guys seen the videos of the blue shrimp that people are talking about like crazy? That's an adventure right there. I don't know how they make shrimp blue, but that's what they got.
Disney Food Blog, which is a really well-known blog and vlog, they've done a lot on the food. That's probably a good place to go check out all the different food items you can get, and probably even tell you how to do the blue food. But they say it's good, and that it's like it looks different, but then when you actually eat it, you go, "This, I know what this is." It's a familiar taste, familiar flavor, just a different appearance.
Man, tastes like chicken.
Yeah, my kids
what alien I'm eating.
My kids, I probably would have had trouble getting them to eat shrimp, much less blue shrimp. Maybe they would have liked that better.
This is
Maybe
when
that
we were
would have been
toddlers.
like candy.
Yes, when we were toddlers. Yeah, we love shrimp now.
Yes, they do.
I love it. So when are they going to build When are they going to build the Marvel version of this?
That would be great.
Ooh, that's the question.
I think, where do we see JD? Because when we were there, we saw pictures of, is it Disneyland Paris that's going to have the Marvel meal, where instead of meeting princesses, you get to meet Marvel. Yeah,
you were telling me about that. I think it was Paris. Yeah.
I think that needs to come to the parks right away. That's a no-brainer for, we were talking about this earlier. I think it was John Dave and I were talking that, in the Disneyverse, there are all these princesses that all these young girls look up to. But if you're a little boy, you've got like Mickey and Goofy. There's like, you have to go to Marvel because they've still not given us a great young male role model for boys.
Recently.
If you're a boy and you want to go dress up for Halloween, you're going to be Buzz or Woody or something that's, there's still like, girls, all that princess merchandise, there's really, boys dress up as superheroes. So anyway, they need to do the Marvel thing. We would have definitely gone to that. We did several character meals through the years with the kids, and they were almost always geared more towards little girls. So
that could be cool. I think to myself like a Marvel University kind of hotel experience, right? Where you're there and then something goes wrong while you're there, and you have to be a part of, helping, your favorite superhero save the world from, aliens of some sort. It'd be kind of cool. And maybe they could pull it really into like the new MCU, make it like a key component to like a storyline, to where then you get some. That could be kind of cool too.
That's like the universal attractions. They always need your help. Hey, I got to have your help. Help me out with this. And that's the whole attraction. You're trying to help Spider-Man or somebody out. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great.
With the multiverse, they could really have anybody from anything. So that would be awesome. That'd be cool.
Absolutely. And that brings us to, we were talking about Daredevil earlier. If they were to do something like that, the new chapter of the MCU, there's so many avenues and branches of the tree that we could go down that are somewhat could be, my biggest kind of, I would say, I won't say hesitation, but thing I'm watching for is, does this get too confusing for the average person? Does this like only appeal to super fans, or are we still expanding? Are people going to fall in love with Moon Knight and with the Doctor Strange stuff coming out? Even the more confusing versions of Spider-Man, or are we kind of now narrowed in on who are already Marvel fans, and let's go with that for the next 10 years? What do you guys think?
Well, I agree. I hear what you're saying. I agree with that. I'm also the theme of the Netflix Marvel is much darker and more adult and less kid friendly than the majority of the MCU product. I mean, there were some, I remember early days when the Iron Man movies came out and John David was really young. It's like, is he too young for this? Is this appropriate for his age? And I thought I really think as a dad, it got better. Like there was less that you were concerned, like, am I going to be like, whoa, I didn't see that coming? There's going to be a lot of fighting and a lot of things like that, but you just want to be prepared. But when we watch the Netflix shows, Daredevil and some of those, it's a different Marvel. So I wonder how they're going to, if they're going to bring all that into Disney Plus, and if they continue it, will it be more like the MCU where there's more humor? I mean, it's not just darker. The colors are darker. The scenes are darker. It's a lot more like a dark Batman movie. But Daredevil reminded me a little bit of Batman. Just the character and the torment that he's going through just reminded me of a DC type character a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think they experimented with those Netflix shows, right? And that's why they've all stopped, right? There was Jessica Jones, there was Luke Cage, there was Iron Fist, there's the Defenders, and then Daredevil, and then Punisher too. I was really excited about the Punisher, another character that I'm really attached to from my childhood. All the different backgrounds and reasons they're doing what they're doing, and all of them are way too graphic and they quit doing them, right? And I don't know whose call it was, but there wasn't a market for it. It was so niche. Like an R-rated Marvel is not a moneymaker, apparently, right? It appeals to a niche group of people, of hardcore fans and people who can deal with that. My kids, like you said, definitely couldn't watch it. Now my oldest has been watching Daredevil with me through, and the language is not. It's not sexually explicit necessarily, Daredevil anyway. It's more the violence, but it definitely is aggressive and dark.
It's very aggressive
and a whole different thing. So I'm very curious. I don't necessarily think the next chapter of MCU that probably reflects well on where they're going, but they are definitely. I think they've taken the popularity, obviously, of Daredevil, of Matt Murdock and Kingpin, and have decided, hey, we're bringing these characters are deep and interesting, and they're connected to New York all throughout the series. You see the background of the Battle of New York being the premise of Hell's Kitchen is kind of decrepit anyway, and Kingpin's gonna rebuild it and revitalize it and make a ton of money off of it. So it does kind of the phase one of the MCU. It's very integral into that, or it's a derivative of that, I should say.
Right.
So I'm interested to see how they bring some of those in there.
I think the biggest challenge, and Dad, you've talked about this for a little bit, for this next phase of Marvel, especially for like the whole crowd of people who enjoy watching Marvel, but they probably don't know a lot about the comics. They probably don't do other research outside of just watching the movie on like what Marvel is and the characters. Is after this first phase, we've kind of run out of those big name Marvel characters. We don't really have another Captain America or Iron Man, where people kind of know their story, they know, their superpowers. And now we're getting characters like Moon Knight, which it's like anybody who doesn't know anything about comics doesn't know who really Moon Knight is. So maybe that's kind of forcing Marvel into going into a different genre, especially like we saw with Eternals, where they're like, okay, we don't really have that much of a connection, so we're going to try and go down this different route. So again, it'll be interesting to see how Marvel really does it in this next phase, because we're running out of characters that people really connect with before the movies. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I also wonder, have you ever noticed, I thought about this last night when we were watching, everything's in New York. Why is there no superhero in Los Angeles or Houston or Chicago? It always seems like they're defending New York. And when we were watching the Defenders, and they're like meeting each other and realizing again, like there are other people like them, and that there are the people that have gifts, and you're like, okay, they're all in New York. It seems like everybody lives there. It's like
high casualties.
I guess Tony Stark's not. Is he in New York?
Yeah, I think so.
Is Iron Man?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, his building. I mean, but that's the thing. That's why Marvel's kind of run themselves into a little cycle, because I remember when a lot of the Hawkeye stuff went on with all of that stuff, people were like, where's Spider-Man? If there's all this crime and Kingpin, it's like people were just saying that, which of course, I mean, there can be connections everywhere.
Hawkeye might have been Chicago. Didn't that take place in Chicago?
No, he is on Broadway. He starts in Broadway, yeah.
Oh, definitely. That's right. That's right. You're right. I don't know why I thought that. You're right. You would think you would just run into each other in the grocery store.
But that's also the backdrops in the comic books too. Like, it's staying true. Like in Daredevil, that whole Hell's Kitchen, it being their home is a big part of how that works. And what I love too about this, not to bring about that series, is the shots and the scenes that take place could be lifted from the comic books. Like so many of them are just kind of iconic.
Right.
Just, wow, these scenes So yeah, I do think that New York is it's kind of like Metropolis and Gotham City. You get at least two different cities in the DC world, but outside of that, you don't. They're made up cities. At least we get a new one, a real one in Marvel, to think about. So yeah, I think that's fascinating.
But to get back to Daredevil, again, it was way more adult than the rest of the MCU to me, but I really did enjoy it. You had told me you appreciated the comic book so much growing up, and so I was really interested to see what it was you liked about it. And I did think the character is one of the best Marvel characters for me. I really liked Daredevil. It was really good. It was, again, he was very violent, but his code is not to kill. Like, he's very aggressive and he's brutal, but he doesn't kill people. And so that was kind of like the old Western mentality,
Well, he's also Catholic.
Who never kills anybody. Yeah.
He's Catholic, and he has a big relationship with his priest.
Yeah, the battle of good and evil within himself. He's always dealing with that. So that was very universal, and I really liked that part of it. When we got into the other character, we watched the Defenders, and we started a couple of the other series just to see what they were like. It gets more graphic, it gets more adult in nature, and so it was not the same. It just the other things we watched were not as good as Daredevil. But you do need to watch. Like for me, we watched Daredevil. We watched all three of Daredevil, and there were some holes that we didn't understand what happened. And once we watched the Defenders, we were like, "Oh, this was supposed to be between Daredevil 2 and Daredevil 3." We didn't know that. I should have looked online before we started, but we were trying to get it all done before Netflix left because we weren't sure it was how long it would take it to show up on Disney Plus.
Yeah,
but anyway,
you could see what they were trying to do that. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, if you're a parent, you're probably going to get your controls on your Disney Plus Now, like we had, when our kids were young, we had with things like Netflix, there was a code that they didn't know, and we checked it so they couldn't watch things that were inappropriate. And we've never had to do that with Disney Plus. And so I guess, I never had to do that with Disney Channel. But we're going into a different world here. It's a big, it is Disney Plus. Is Disney Plus a lot of other stuff?
I would probably, if I were rating them, like Daredevil would probably be a PG-13, a teenage for teenagers, kind of deal. The other one's probably an R, just a straight up R. If your parents are listening and like, can my kids or watch this or whatnot? And again, it depends on your tolerance for violence too. There's 3 categories. There's like language, there's sexuality, and then there's violence. And kind of like, I don't know why, but language and sexuality were always a little more taboo in my household than the violence, because the violence didn't seem as, I don't know, as real or something like that. But Daredevil, I would say, I'm letting my 13-year-old watch it with me. I'm watching with him, right? I wouldn't let him see Jessica Jones or Luke Cage, or even probably the Punisher for that matter. We'll have to wait and see. But I also don't think you're going to see those characters pop up anytime soon. They just weren't as popular. They weren't as successful shows.
Right.
I honestly, like, I'd never heard of those characters until they made the shows, pretty much. I mean, I've heard of Iron Fist. The Punisher is another one I was disappointed. I thought that had a lot of potential, and they gave up on it too early. I even liked the actor that was playing him. And I'm hoping that sort of gets a reboot or revisited at some point too, because he's integral to the comic books and the MCU. And if we're going down this road, I don't see how you go down without the Punisher. He's a very key in the Kingpin storyline. He shows up in shows up in tons of Spider-Man comics, even X-Men. Like those paths cross a lot in the comics, so they should probably. And he's such a unique character too. That the Punisher is all about, his family was murdered, and he is just the Punisher. It's all about vengeance, and making all the drug dealers and murderers and people pay, and he doesn't care about himself or living. Just he's going to kill them all, right, and let God sort them out. So it's a whole nother sort of character, where Daredevil has the same sort of thing, but he loves his city and doesn't kill, right? Has a code that he goes by, but they overlap a lot and conflict. They butt heads a lot too.
Right. Well, I think what I was going to say when I was bringing up the New York City is they have, as they move forward, they can still cross characters that maybe, even if they just make a cameo. I know that Luke Cage mentioned Hulk. I mean, there are things that they could do that could let, characters crisscross, even if it's just a second. I think that would keep some of the average fans pulled in, because you start realizing, oh, I know that character and he knows this character, so maybe it's all the same. I kind of felt like that's what they've done with some of the Star Wars, bringing in Luke, bringing in all these other characters that into Mandalorian. It kind of bridges the gaps of the new characters.
Yeah. So where do you think we're going,
That's
JD?
cool.
What do you think is going to happen with all this? So Matt Murdock, Daredevil, shows up in the last Spider-Man movie too, and that was the most exciting part of the movie for me. I mean, seriously, I loved it. It's incredible. One of the best movies of all time. But when he shows up on that screen, I was like, "Woo, he's back!" So what do you think? Where do you think we're going?
Yeah. Well, that's the interesting thing. Due to that, it's left everyone questioning, well, what the heck is going to happen next? If they can bring this character in, who else are they going to bring in? And so that leads to this new trailer we got of Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, which if you watch the trailer, it looks exactly like that. It looks like madness. You're just seeing scenes upon scenes. We've talked about What If for a little bit. There definitely seems to be a lot of connections with What If, some zombie-looking characters, and a lot of questions. But the biggest takeaway from the trailer that looks like it's going to be this next phase was right as it ends, you hear this voice. And, of course, when there's a voice, everyone tries to figure out who the heck was that voice. And as it's ending, you see, I think it's like 6 chairs in front of Doctor Strange. And you hear Charles Xavier, his voice, and people were freaking out because that means our X-Men. Does this mean this new wave of X-Men? I've done a little digging. I've done a little research on what X-Men and what these 6 chairs could be. And it seems like a majority of what people are saying is going to be in this Multiverse of Madness is the Illuminati, the Marvel Illuminati. And what it consists of are the baddest, smartest guys, essentially like the leaders of all of these different departments of kind of Marvel. So you have Iron Man, of course, who's kind of seen as the smart leader of the Avengers. He's the intelligence, kind of the one who leads intelligently. So you've got Iron Man. You've got this character named Namor, who represents Atlantis. You've got Reed Richards, who represents the Fantastic Four. Black Bolt, who represents the Inhumans. Some say T'Challa is also part of the Illuminati. He represents Wakanda. Doctor Strange, who represents the mystical forces in the universe. And then, of course, Charles Xavier, Professor X, who represents the mutants. So it's kind of like all these different areas of the cinematic universe. And that's just like the comics Illuminati. Of course, due to What If and some of the different things that we've seen, has said that people are thinking that they're going to create their own Illuminati. People are saying maybe, let's look here. Some people are saying maybe Captain Carter. If you guys remember from What If, the multiverse of Captain America, maybe they're going to have a strong Captain Carter. But another cool aspect of this is like, okay, so you're saying Iron Man is going to be in this new movie. And so some other speculation is they're saying Marvel is going to use this as an opportunity to bring some big name actors who are in the running for some of these big roles, and they're going to have them play these big Iron Man. So Iron Man, if you guys don't know, Tom Cruise was really in consideration to play Iron Man, but didn't I guess make the final cut, or maybe due to scheduling or some actor thing, they went with Robert Downey Jr. But people are saying if they're going to have this supreme, intelligent Iron Man who's going to be essentially kind of like the top Iron Man in all the multiverse, who's in this Illuminati, who's kind of watching over the multiverse, they might have Tom Cruise play Iron Man, which would be pretty cool. Some other big names, they're saying John Krasinski might be Reed Richards, because people always know John Krasinski's been looking for an intro to the Marvel universe. So people are saying, hey, maybe they're going to let him finally get his shot and be Reed Richards, the leader of the Fantastic Four. So some things like that it kind of gets you excited about, okay, let's see what they're going to do. Maybe they'll bring Chris Evans back, and, there'll be this cool scene where everyone's like, oh, it's Captain America. And then he says, flame on, and he's, a part of the Fantastic Four. I mean, there's just so many things that they could do here that would just have fans going crazy. It would just be cool. So I'm excited about it. Watching that trailer, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a cinematic madness show if they're bringing some. So another thing was Deadpool. Deadpool might be in it. I mean, I've never seen more just different possibilities, different routes they could go down. It's going to be really cool.
Dude, that sounds really amazing. Like, I'm glad you broke that down, because I'm super excited. You're right. With kind of no rules in a movie that kind of is, the whole idea is that it's breaking all the rules, and we are in this multiverse kind of world now. Anything's possible, and they just showed us with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, and that they're willing to take some chances and do some stuff that you never thought they could. I hope they don't run the gimmick into the ground. But I agree that we're in that world right now where that could be really cool. I'm excited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so saying that, I've got a little fun mini game for you guys. I've kind of prepared a list of 10 big profile actors and actresses who almost got big profile. I'm talking Avenger level roles in the MCU. So I'm going to give you the actors or actresses' name, and then I want you guys to guess, who do you think that they would play best, or who do you think that they would be casted as? Does that make sense?
All right. This is going to be fun. Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to get to my list right here. I've got a list of 10. So here we go. First, starting out, we have a top-level actress, John Krasinski's wife, Emily Blunt. Who did she almost get casted as?
Incredible Hulk.
I want to say. I want to say Black Widow. I want to say Black Widow. It could have been Captain Marvel.
I mean, it has to be a prominent female. Maybe I'll say Captain Marvel since you said Black Widow, but I don't know.
It was actually Black Widow. Yeah, it actually was Black Widow.
I think I've heard that somewhere. I think I might have she mentioned that in an interview I saw sometime.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the biggest ones that people have talked about was Emily Blunt Almost Bone, which again, it's funny when you think about it because it's like, well, I can't imagine anyone else being Black Widow but Scarlett Johansson because she's done it so well. Okay, so this next one's pretty interesting. I had actually never heard this one. And it's Daniel Craig, James Bond. Who did he almost play in the cinematic universe?
I'm going to say Captain America.
Even though he's not Doctor Strange. I want to say Doctor Strange.
Both of those are really good guesses. And actually, I could see that more than this, but it was actually Thor. They were considering him so much that he actually turned down the role so he could focus on James Bond.
Wow. I could see that. He's got the accent, and he's kind of chiseled base.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, he could grow it out. Isn't that an interesting pick? Yeah.
Yeah, that is.
Okay. So I talked about earlier about how John Krasinski wanted to have that role in the MCU. What role did he originally audition for? This is also a big one that people have talked about. Maybe you've heard of it.
I've heard this.
Black Panther.
I think it was I think it was Captain America. It was Captain America.
I'm going to say Captain America too. Actually.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah, you guys are right. Yep, perfect. It was Captain America. Again, that was, I mean, you talk about first Avenger. People didn't know how big the Marvel Universe is. But yeah, John Krasinski, he was very close to actually getting the role. Next, another fun one. One I never heard before. Jason Momoa, Aquaman. Who did he almost play?
The Hulk.
I would say I could the Hulk or Thor. He seems like a Thor type to me.
Or Thor.
But we've already had a Thor, so
I wonder if two would. Yeah.
What about Hawkeye?
I can't,
no, he's too.
I can see Momoa playing Hulk, but not David Banner. Like
what about Star-Lord?
I don't know if I see it.
No, I'm gonna say.
Or hey, who's the other guy in Guardians of the Galaxy? The big guy
Batista.
in Guardians.
I don't know his name in real life.
That character.
Batista is the actor.
I'm going to say that character.
What's his name?
The big guy in Guardians of the Galaxy.
The shirtless guy?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Shirtless. Yeah.
That's who I'm guessing.
That was some good critical thinking because you actually got it right. He almost did play Drax, but he passed on it.
Drax.
Drax. Okay. Yeah.
Which would have been an interesting take. It would have been a younger, kind of more interesting vibe. But, yeah, he actually passed on it. Here's another big name actor.
I can't see anybody but him.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I saw an interview where somebody told me, maybe JD might have told me, where he said, "I can't play this character forever. I can't.
Yeah.
Keep
this level of fitness.
This level of fitness at my age.
Yeah, he's got to be shirtless.
I hope he doesn't go away. Yeah, they could just get him a jacket.
Yeah.
All right. What's the next?
Next one we got Joaquin Phoenix, the Joker. Who was he almost in the Marvel Universe?
Definitely Loki. That's got to be Loki, right?
Or a villain.
I can't see him as
Spider-Man.
A good guy. Yeah, he's got to be a bad guy.
I can't either. He's either that or a villain like like the Green Goblin. Or
has he ever played a good guy in any movie? I mean, other than maybe Johnny Cash.
That's a good point.
That's a good.
Lincoln. All right.
That's Daniel Day-Lewis.
What's locked in?
That's Daniel Day-Lewis.
So what's our locked-in answers?
Joaquin Phoenix. I was actually thinking
Joker,
of Daniel Day-Lewis.
He was in Gladiator.
Yeah.
He was the guy, the bad dude. I mean, he's maybe the greatest living American actor. Hot take. Seriously, like that guy.
Wow.
This guy may be the greatest living American actor, but I can't imagine him as a good guy.
Yeah, he's a good one. So who are you guys locking in? Who do you guys really think?
I'm locking in Loki.
I'm going to say Mephisto. Who did
Mephisto.
Mephisto, yeah. I'm going to say him.
Okay, so neither are right. It was actually Doctor Strange. He almost played Doctor Strange, which would have been interesting.
I could see that.
You could see
that. But I think Benedict, those are both great actors that could have brought it different directions.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that'd have been fascinating.
I think Benedict does a great job. Apparently, he was having some scheduling issues. People were questioning if Benedict was just too busy to be Doctor Strange. So it was a toss-up there for a little bit.
Wow.
Okay, next one, another Joker, another person who's played a good Joker, Jared Leto. Who did he almost play?
I don't think it would have been anything too far back. It would have been something newer after he had more name recognition. So that one's tougher.
I could see him as a Hawkeye. He's not a big bulking kind of hulking guy. Loki could have been good.
Maybe Loki.
I could see him as a good guy or a bad guy. I'm going to say Hawkeye.
Is he British? Sure. Is he British?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Is he?
Midwestern dude.
Yeah.
He's in a band.
I would have still said maybe Loki. Yeah. I'm stumped on that one.
I'm going to say Hawkeye.
So is it just... Okay. I actually threw you for a loop. He actually was also in the running for Doctor Strange. Apparently, this Doctor Strange role was everybody heard about it and wanted to be Doctor Strange because those are three big names.
By the time that movie came out, I mean, MCU was crushing it. So that was like your last chance to get in and make a big title character. Yeah.
Yep. All right, we're getting closer to the end here. The Texas man, Matthew McConaughey. Who did he almost play?
Iron Man. I'm going to say Iron Man.
I'll give you a hint here because we're starting to get a little bit out of that original six. It's not an original six Avenger.
Okay.
So it's like a side, someone who has more of a prominent role, but not a huge role in the MCU.
Okay, Star-Lord.
Is it in a movie?
Star-Lord.
Is it in a movie? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a movie or on a TV series.
It's a movie, yeah. All these are movies, yeah.
Because I could see him in that character that Owen Wilson played in Loki. I could see him playing that part. Who did you say? Who did you say, Dustin?
Who did it?
Star-Lord?
Like, what did I think?
I'm going to guess that, too, because I can't think of anybody else. Star-Lord.
Okay, it's a close guess. It is the Star-Lord movie, but it's actually his dad, Ego, the villain in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Oh, Kurt Russell played.
Yeah, okay. Which again, they would have had to put some gray hair in him because it would have been hard to believe that Matthew McConaughey was Peter Quill's dad, but they could have made it work.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Wow, that's interesting.
Okay, so we discussed Tom Cruise. He was almost Iron Man. That was the big one. And then the last one we have on the list, one of the biggest young actors we have now, Timothée Chalamet.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look that guy up. I don't know who that is. Timothy.
I think that was Spider-Man. I think it was Spider-Man.
Timothee. It should pop up. He was in the Dune movie.
Okay, I see him. He looks like he could be a Spider-Man or a Harry, his buddy Harry, Osborn. Definitely
or something
a kid.
In the Eternals. He could have been the Harry Styles character, and
that's true.
Definitely could have been in the Eternals in something.
I'm gonna say either I'm gonna say Harry Osborn. I've never heard of this.
I'm gonna say Spider-Man.
So
he's in everything lately. I'm gonna say Spider-Man.
Okay, you guys got it right. Okay, so the funny thing about the conversation you guys just had was because in the article it was Spider-Man. He auditioned for Spider-Man, but it says he apparently freaked out because he was still a younger actor at the time when Spider-Man was going. So he got nervous and botched the audition. But now people are saying he would make a great Harry Osborn if they ever did another Spider-Man movie, like Tom Holland's best. If they did some other, I don't know, adaptation, it actually talks about how people are saying he would be a great Harry. So yeah, it was
call me a
Spider-Man.
casting
Funny that you guys made that. Yeah, there you go.
Is Harry Spider-Man's friend? Is that his name?
Harry Osborn,
Spider-Man
his best
movies?
friend, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no!
Tom Holland,
it's the new Spider-Man.
It's the old Spider-Man, yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay. You always get a look. I know what you're talking about now. Okay, yeah,
mm-hmm. yeah.
That would be good.
Ned. We got Ned and
Ned,
MJ.
that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't know Mary Jane was not MJ, until this movie, right? Isn't that correct? We always just assumed we heard her called MJ right. And just assumed it was Mary Jane, but then we find out in the multiverse that her real name's not Mary Jane. So another interesting piece of it all.
Yeah, but those are the top 10. Yeah. Those are the top 10 biggest actors or actresses that I found. But I would really encourage you guys to look it up because there are so many more that I recognize. And it's so weird to think these, Black Widow, Robert Downey Jr. is now such an iconic for his role. It's crazy to think that someone like Tom Cruise or someone else could be in that role. It was definitely a fun thing to look up.
Yeah.
All right, let me ask you this real quick.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, David. We're on a delay here, so we're talking over each other a little bit. But I was going to ask you guys.
That's okay.
What is of all of the Marvel characters, and I'm not talking about your favorite character. I'm talking about who's the best actor. Who is the one that you're like, wow, that guy as that blows my mind. Should win awards. You should get an Oscar for that.
Gosh. I mean, that's the thing though about Marvel. It's like I could plead a case for just about any of the original 6 Avengers.
Do you think they were all great actors?
I feel like. Yeah, I mean, I don't have any recollection of during any the first Avengers movies thinking this is cheesy or this is anything but just great.
I agree.
Which again, it might have just been I was younger.
The only one of the 6 I would put in that category of being like great at that act is Robert Downey. But that's not even for the first one. It's more for the bulk of all of them, right? The rest of them are okay to me. And I'm okay as in it's an incredible movie. They're great. But great, this acting performance that is just moving and believable and all of that. So who would you say, David?
I would definitely.
I would say Robert Downey Jr. And I think that when I think of not that Tom Cruise couldn't have done a great job, who knows? But when I think of anybody else playing any other character, I could see other people playing that character. I don't know that I could see anybody else ever playing Iron Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they will do it again. I mean, there's going to be a point where everything gets repeated. There's been more than one Batman. There's been more than one Superman. There'll be these characters will get repeated at some point, but I can't imagine anybody else playing it but him.
Yeah, I agree with that.
JD, what do you think?
I was going to say, 100% Robert Downey Jr. That was the first thing that came to mind. But as far as comically, emotionally, all aspects of an actor's spectrum, he hits it. And he plays his character well. Just the best character that can make you laugh, but also make you cry at the same time was definitely Robert Downey Jr.
And that's when I think about all the characters you've mentioned. I mean, Patrick Stewart, and he's just incredible. I mean, he can read the phone book, and it's just incredible. He's just a great speaker, and so I think he always does amazing in anything. He's always a great villain, especially, man.
I'm going to give you 2 more. Yeah. I'm going to give you Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give you Paul Bettany as Vision.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, definitely Chadwick Boseman. Yeah, for sure. I mean, does a great job. I'm trying to think too. I mean, now it's making me really ponder all these different movies of like what have moved me the most.
We're talking about acting performances. Trying to think too, and then man, dude, Matt Murdock, that character, Ben Affleck screwed it up. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I thought Charlie Cox did a great job. I really did playing the blind character. We were more. I was trying to figure out how many times he was doing his own stunts, because I mean, you've seen Tom Holland do so much. I get the impression that a lot of it's more stunt doubles, and of course he's wearing the mask and the suit, so you really don't know who's doing all that. But I thought he did a really great job.
Well, I think it's fascinating. There are and there, again, I don't know if I should ask, like, what are the performances you like the least? Can we do that? Will we do that on this podcast?
I don't think
Let's think about it. Hold up, let's ponder.
That's not why I love Disney. No, I can't really think of it. I can't think of any that I've disliked.
Just think of one.
Okay, well, I'll give you one big one. I mean, Brie Larson as Captain Marvel. I mean,
that's exactly
all
what
day.
I mean,
that would be the number one. Yeah, I mean that's the number one, easy. Yeah, I wanted to love the character
and like cardboard.
Yeah,
how can you not
seen
like
a lot
a
of that
character?
I just feel like it's the. I'm not sure it was her as much as it was the placement of the character in the story. I just think they shouldn't have brought her in. I would have rather had a new female strong character that wasn't so out of the league of it. It didn't fit to me. It brought up more questions than answers. And I really liked that backstory. I liked the supporting characters in that. There were a lot of good things I liked about it. It somehow messed up the whole big picture. Does that make sense? That's what I didn't.
Yeah,
I didn't like.
Everything about that movie was awesome,
sense.
Except for her.
Yeah, exactly. It would be probably the last movie. If you put every single Marvel movie in front of me, it would be the last one that I'd pick up and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna watch it again." Because of that, I mean, it's like, well, when you look at the movie, it's like, well, the main character should probably be someone who you enjoy watching. And again, I don't know. You can place blame on the writing, on the storyline, on her actual acting ability all day, but it's just not enjoyable. And it even goes into the end game. And once you get the end game, it's like I still don't like to watch you. So, it is what it is.
Oh, reminds me of one more actor we can wrap it with. Ben Mendelsohn as the villain, one of the bad guys in Captain Marvel, is underrated, incredible. That was an incredible bad guy. He's I forget his character name in the. He's going to make an appearance in future movies I've read, but he's a tremendous actor from the Netflix series that took place in Key West, Bloodlines, and he was also the bad guy. Director Krennic in Rogue One, in Star Wars Rogue One, and just an incredible bad guy who is, I think, an incredible actor that I think we're going to see more from the MCU.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Hey, well, before we go, aren't we going to talk about Encanto? We've talked about
that. It wouldn't be an episode unless
we almost made it.
Yeah,
number one.
We almost made
album in the country again.
And was it globally or
globally?
In the country?
Globally.
It was globally number one.
The number one album, not just a single, not just Bruno, but the whole album.
In the world, not just the U.S.
In the world. Yep.
At this point, I think we might need just some better music. If there's not enough new music coming out every week that we can at least challenge Bruno, I don't know what we're doing. But it's crazy. I've never seen anything like it. When you sent that, Dustin, I was like, wow, I cannot believe that.
There was an article in the Atlantic that tried to explain some of the phenomenon, and I do think there's a lot to this. When a kid's music came, you got the CD, you popped it in the car, right? and the kid bugged your parents about play song 4 over and over, play Bruno again, play it again. Now it's all streaming. Nobody owns a CD, right? So every time a kid asks their parents to play it, it gets counted again, right? It's counted. So we're now like, this actually probably is the way it should be. This is actually a measurement of actual consumption of music rather than sales, which can be gimmicked and, get an end cap at Walmart and, you could juice your sales numbers. This is what people are listening to. And this is what kids are listening to.
Right.
It's probably very little radio play too. It's probably just driven by kids listening to these songs over and over.
Yeah. Different world.
Wow.
Different
psychology. The psychology before why Encanto has been such a success.
I did think that we had Frozen 1 and 2, and we had Moana, but there really haven't been as many Disney musicals that I can think of. Those were the three that stood out. We had Frozen in 13, Moana was like 2015, I think, and then we've had Frozen 2. So, maybe there's been a gap. It's not like every Disney movie is a musical. I mean, Pixar still hasn't done a musical that I can think of. There have been songs, like you said, Toy Story has prominent songs and music plays a big part, but they've not done
Coco,
Coco's
but
it's pretty close. Ratatouille has music. Even Ratatouille, the music's really important, but it's like it's one song and it's more background than a musical. The characters aren't bursting out in song, so like in Encanto. So, well, I just had to give a little plug.
No, we have to talk about Encanto, and we will. We're wrapping up now, but we'll come back next week and hear more about Encanto, the latest on what's happened in the world of Encanto.
You can be sure.
On the Why I Love Encanto podcast. And
a lot of new content, more new content coming out on Disney Plus in March. We've got the Turning Red movie coming out soon. So
yeah, and we're going to talk about all of that in the episodes to come. And we thank you for hanging with us here at the Why I Love Disney podcast. Let us know what you think about all this. What do you think about where the MCU is headed? Also, what are you excited about to watch in March? What do you think about Encanto? And we'll ask you that too. We just want to know. We want to interact with you, and we are excited. I can't wait for next week because I think it's March, and I think we're gonna do some brackets. March Madness is here.
Oh yeah.
If you're a college basketball fan, there's a big tournament that happens here coming up really soon. So we thought we'd have some Disney brackets we'll throw at you. So join us again next week on the Why I Love Disney podcast. Until then, always a pleasure. David and JD, great to see you guys. Can't wait till next week.
All right.
Thanks a lot.